It's going to be a private video or public?
Private. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the NFL. Not just the NFL, the greatest game ever played. So let that sink in. I'll give you some numbers. 256 is the number of games played in the NFL every regular season. Take that, since football started, thousands of games have been played. I'm going to give you one game that's changed the entire way that we view football. It's been the most impactful game that's been played. So when you are thinking about great games, first thing you want to start off with, venue. You can't get a better venue than where this game was played. Yankee Stadium, New York City, most historical site you can possibly imagine. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, I mean the list goes on and on. The historic, I mean, you just can't get a better venue than that. I'll tell you another number, 45 million people. That's how many people were able to view this game. This was the first nationally televised football game that was ever played. It was also the 1958 NFL Championship game. So you've got setting, you've got two of the best teams, and you've got a national audience for the first time. The way that that changed the game was after that, it pole vaulted NFL football to be the sport that it is today, which is the number one sports. It's the number one sport in the nation. Hands down, most watched, the most played. I mean, it's all the way across the board. That's your number one sport. So it led to the popularity surge. It's got the huge sports market now. We'll throw another number at you. 65,185. So you take that number, which is the number of people that were able to go to that game at that historic site, with the 45 million people that were able to watch it on TV. Pole vaulted that sport into what it is today. Next thing I want to talk about is the great players that played in that game. We'll put the slideshow on. I'm going to throw this number at you, 12. And that number is important because that is the number of of Hall of Fame football players that played in that game. Roosevelt Brown, offensive lineman for the New York Giants. When we start talking about these guys, think about how many guys played last year. I mean, that's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Think about to the past few championship games, how many guys have played that will be future Hall of Famers. And Ravens played last year. You've got Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Joe Flacco maybe, or wins another one. I mean, you're only talking a handful of guys. Terrell Suggs. 12 guys played in this NFL championship game. I'll go through them now. Frank Gifford. Change. Played halfback. Some of these names you guys will recognize. Sam Huff, linebacker. Don Maynard, wide receiver and halfback. Andy Robustelli, defensive end. Emlyn Tunnell, defensive back. That was all off of the New York Giants. Baltimore Colts Hall of Fame players. Got Raymond Berry, wide receiver. Art Donovan, defensive line. Gino Marchetti, defensive line. Lenny Moore, halfback, wide receiver. Jim Parker, offensive line. This next one, probably one of the biggest game changers that ever played the game. Johnny Unitas, quarterback. That was the list of all of the Hall of Fame players that played in that game. One of the things that surprised me about this wasn't the number of players, it's the number of coaches. When I tell you these coaches that coached in this game, it's going to blow your mind. I'll go over those now. This first guy, they named a trophy after him. These guys were coaches for the New York Giants. Vince Lombardi, offensive coordinator. This next guy, also Super Bowl winning coaches. Tom Landry, defensive coordinator. So you've got two Hall of Fame coaches coaching on one coaching staff. This next one is going to be the only coach that made it from the Baltimore Colts, but he was also the head coach. Weeb Ewbank. When you look at those, when we sit here and talk about players and coaches, we talked about venue. We talked about how it was the first nationally broadcast game and how much it's changed the game. Haven't even got to the game yet. Overall, this was through 3.5 quarters, this was a sloppy game that was played. There were 6 fumbles lost, 1 interception, missed field goals. It was a sloppy game. Late in the 4th quarter, Johnny Unitas gets the ball. They're down by 3. He takes them down the field. With 13 seconds left, they end up kicking or 7 seconds left, they kicked the 13-yard, or they were on the 13-yard line, they kicked a 20-yard field goal to tie the game. Sent the game into overtime. To put that into perspective, games go into overtime all the time. But how often is it in a in a championship game with Hall of Fame coaches, first nationally broadcast game? I mean, this has got the makings, to set the NFL up forever. This game changing. So they kick the field goal, they tie the game up, it goes into overtime. The New York Giants win the toss. Of course, they elect to receive. Anybody that watches football knows that's a huge leg up, especially with the old rules, where you score, you win. Doesn't matter what it is. So, Baltimore Colts step it up, force a 3-and-out on the first drive in overtime. Unitas takes them 80 yards, scored a winning touchdown to win the 1958 NFL Championship game. So you add all that up, you've got a great game. You can't stress how much that national broadcast affected everything. 45 million people watched that game from home. Another 65,000 in the stands. That's why this game was the greatest game ever played. And it will always be the greatest game ever played, because it will have impacted NFL more than any game will ever be able to. That's all I got.